Hi folks. Those of you that have been our pals for a while now know that from time to time I tend to order strange stuff. And recently I found something that I thought I would share with you guys. I thought it might be interesting. This is barn owl pellet. It comes with little forceps and tweezers. What is a barn owl pellet, you may ask? Well, birds of prey, much like hens, do not have teeth. So they swallow their prey whole, and they are not able to digest the bones. So they will cough back up these pellets, and in these regurgitated pellets, you can often find the bones of whatever animal they were preying upon. So what we're going to do now with this mail order barn owl pellet is we're going to dissect it and see if we can find any bones. It might be interesting, could be fun. I hope it's gross. All right, let's see what we have here. I imagine this is what we have to work with, our pellet. Here it appears to be some identification for different kinds of bones. So you can pick out what you might find of their prey, their likely kinds of prey. So we'll keep this handy while we're going through our pellet. It discusses how the pellets are made. Of course, they're swallowing their prey whole. Oh, and here's a whole chart of the bones of the kinds of prey animals they are likely to encounter. Also included here, let's see, is kind of forceps tweezer apparatus there. It's probably need to be worked with a little bit to get some play in them, and a little spatula or spade for prying apart the pellet. Let's get into this thing. So as we unwrap it, this is what a barn owl pellet looks like, folks. Now this supposedly has been sterilized. Now exactly how one sterilizes regurgitation, I have no idea, but it looks kind of like a piece of poo, actually. It has no discernible smell at all. So it does not smell like poo or regurgitation. We got that going for us. Now, according to the instructions, there's no set way to do this. It just says to break it into smaller pieces and then to start going through each piece looking for bones. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move this foil wrapper out of the way. Obviously break that apart. Already, I'm starting to see what might be pieces of bone in there. Oh wow, this has got lots of stuff. This is a jumbo pellet, by the way, folks. I'm gonna break it into, if there's any bones, I'm trying not to break them. Ooh, look at this. What I just broke right into, right off the bat. Let's go ahead and try to remove this if I can. I wonder what this goes to. This looks to me a whole lot like the femur of some kind of bird. Let's see, do you see the femur right there? That's the femur. Now, as I continue to break this apart, you see I've already stumbled upon it before I've even got down to using the spade or the forceps a lot. I've already begun to see very interesting things here embedded in there. And check this out. This looks like the teeth to something right there. So I'm already starting to find a lot of different bones. This is so cool. It's kind of gross because it's kind of like handling a piece of poo, and it is regurgitation, but look at the cool, this is bone. So the trick to this seems to be to break off small pieces to try to get to the larger ones, and then use the little spade to separate. Here's a tiny bone fragment right here. This is very tiny, but it is a bone fragment. That might be broken off a bigger piece. It might be hard to tell. I'm not seeing any pieces on this chart that's this small, so I'm guessing this broke off a bigger piece, but we'll put it to the side. Now I'm beginning to see where this little tool comes in handy, because you can get down and break off without using the big old thick thumbs to get down into these pieces. And you see here, just tearing it away, layer at a time, putting the debris over to the side, trying to take away a piece at a time to get to whatever. Well, there we go. I don't know what this is. Let me put it on here. This is an odd piece. So this odd piece, from checking the chart, appears to be the scapula from a rodent, from perhaps a rat, or it could be from a vole. Definitely not a bird, though. So here is what I recovered from that first piece that I had broken off from the owl pellet. You see over here my discard pile, this is what it came out of. Now, as I suspected before I started this, a lot of what I've discovered are bone fragments. Tiny little pieces that are unidentifiable, not even really worth keeping, some of them. But here's some of the interesting things that came out of here. This looks very much, and I'm not sure whether or not it is, but this looks like it could be sure if you can see this really well, but this looks like it could be the tibia or fibula for some animal, possibly a rodent. There's some tiny pieces here that appeared to be part of a spinal column. More spine, it looks like, and some various other fragments, larger fragments of bone. But here's the most interesting part. This definitely appears to be part of the jaw, and that appears to be some kind of incisor tooth there, which is pretty cool. We'll keep that one for sure. Y'all, I am enjoying this. This is fun. I imagine if you had an actual kid instead of a big kid, if they like gross things and maybe fossils or dinosaurs, or I know these aren't fossils and these aren't dinosaurs, but the principle of digging to find bone, you can do that right here. And this is pretty neat. It's got that little gross out factor. So you got that going for you if you want something fun to do. And this is a good activity. I think that for a rainy day activity, and it is rainy here today, this would be a lot of fun. And it takes a while. You can't do this. I'm editing this, of course, and giving you the parts where you see the actual bones and a part of the digging for it. But this has taken me so far just to get to the bone fragments. I've shown you quite a while. This is an activity, and the bag is resealable. You can put these pieces back into the bag, reseal it, and do a piece at a time. So this is an activity that a kid or a big kid could enjoy over several days or several playtimes, and feel like they're accomplishing a little bit of paleontology. I'm getting better at this as I go. I'm starting to see the curvature and recognize some of the bones and the direction that they are, and it's making it easier to clean, but it's still taking a while. This is an activity it's really fun because it's kind of zen-like. You just sort of tune out as you're digging around trying to salvage as many pieces of these bone fragments as you can. being as gentle as you can to try to keep from damaging them any further than the digestive process already has. All right, folks, I've gone through most of the other bits that I have. You see the big old discard pile I have here. And of course, as I mentioned before, what you find a lot of are fragments. These are fragments of bone, unidentifiable, tiny little fragments. But what was interesting out of these that I recovered was, as you can see here, 3 completely intact humerus bones. Very small one right there. And some fibula, tibula bones. They're in pretty good shape. Some tiny ones here. Whoops, it's very tiny. And this is a play school forceps. One more little tibia / fibula. They've got them both labeled as tibia, fibula on the chart here, so fairly good sized piece of bone. This looks also like a piece of spine or spinal column. I'm not absolutely sure. Maybe one of you can identify it. I've looked at the charts and cannot figure out what this piece is. These might be the real score out of these piles that I just got out of these bits of owl pellet. But this, obviously, good grief, look at that tooth. Whatever that rodent was had not had a chance to work on that. If it's wanting to come out, let me be very careful. You can see on the inside here, little rows of teeth. That's a pretty good, and that tells me that this rodent didn't chew on a lot of stuff to wear these down. They have to chew. And here we have another piece, a fragment of a jaw. See the little teeth in there? That's crazy, isn't it? Some pretty good sections of skull. Let me see if I get them on here. Here we go. Whoops. You see it's not completely intact, but nice little fragments of jaw. See the teeth in there? Right along there. A rodent's jaw. And here is an even larger rodent's jaw. Take out the teeth in there. Right along the back. Pretty cool, huh? Now these fragments I found, you tell me how they got in there. I'm not sure, but I have some speculation. These do not appear to be bones at all. These appear to be fragments of rock, of stone, little pebbles. I don't think an owl would eat pebbles, but an owl might eat something that eats pebbles to aid in its digestion. And when it eats that animal that eats these, well, these pass through too. And I speculate that's how these pebbles may have got into this owl pellet. And strangest of all out of these slices, this appears to be not a bone, but actually a fragment of a foot pad from some sort of rodent. You see, if you can, I'm not sure if this shows up good enough, but there's toes in there that you can see, little toes, and it's leathery. So this looks like actually a foot, a fragment of a foot. Okay, I've been saving this piece for last, mostly because of what appears to be some giant incisors there. I don't know what I'm gonna, it may be just the giant incisors, but we're gonna go into this one last and see what we come up with. So out of that last piece, see, we got another pretty good little piece of skull. Not bad, not much damage on this one at all. Another good sized piece of rodent skull. Fibula, tibula, and scraps, but as I had hoped, the biggest prize out of this last piece was this huge, well, not huge, but for the owl pellet, piece of rodent skull. Check this bad boy out, those rows of teeth in there, those big incisors. Wow. Pretty cool. When it was all said and done, I harvested a lot of very interesting things, some of which weren't even bone. Y'all, I can't recommend this activity enough. Got this off of Amazon. This is the jumbo size pellet. It cost about $9. They have smaller pellets. They have the medium and the small. It's like a piece of the one that came in here. It took me hours to do this, and it was all fun. It was all very zen, concentrated and focused, digging out the little pieces of bone treasure out of each particle of the pellet. If you have a bone collector that you love, or someone who makes jewelry out of bone. I've seen pieces of jewelry at oddity shows made out of bones like this, ethically sourced, going for $20 and up. For $9, I harvested enough bones that you could probably make $100 worth of jewelry out of this right here. And of course, if you have kids and you want something to do for a rainy day activity, especially if they like stuff that's kind of gross, if they like things like dinosaurs and paleontology, this is a good activity because the digging around, trying to pull out the bones without damaging them, getting them as intact as you can, it took a little practice, and it was fun, and it brought to mind things like paleontology. And while it isn't dinosaur bones, it is an activity kind of in that direction, so kids might like this. Certainly affordable, certainly take up some time. So thanks for joining me for this. I enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun for me, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you guys. Until the next time, this is Mike, the Bone Collector, saying bye.